Okay, this is a weekly STEP meeting. Our format is as follows. A speaker is asked to talk for 25 to 30 minutes, followed by discussion or questions until 7 p.m. You can find these weekly meetings on our YouTube page, Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. That brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting on November 29th, 2021 in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, at the Monday night 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Kara, and she will be sharing her experience. Please help me welcome Kara.
Hello everybody, my name is Kara and I'm an alcoholic. I feel like I know you guys, but I don't think you guys have ever heard my story, which is, going to be a cool thing for me. You guys know me, but you've heard bits and pieces of my story, so I'm just really grateful to be here. And when you're asked to speak, I've been trained, I've been told, my sponsors, kind of what we do, we speak. And hoping that something I will say will help a newcomer. And if you're new, please stay, because this program does work. So I'm just going to reflect a little bit about myself. My sobriety date is October 24, 2015. My sponsor is Donna M. And my home group is this home group, Thursday home group, Saturday home group. I feel like I have a lot of home groups. I just feel like Doylestown has really given me just great recovery up here. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about myself. I was born in California in the early 60s. My dad and mom, my mom and dad were born and raised in the California area. My dad graduated from Cal Poly in Pomona, California, and with a mechanical engineering degree in the early 1966. So my dad's first job out of college was Shreveport, Louisiana. So that's what brought me. My sister and I and my mom and my dad moved across the United States because my dad was an engineer for a big, huge telephone company called Western Electric. My dad was a plant manager and engineer for this huge manufacturing plant. They were hiring people all over the United States. So that's what brought me to the Deep South. So a lot of people talk about the isms in the room, like they knew at an early age, they were feared up, they were shy, they were, depressed, born into a bad family. That wasn't the case for me. I was born into a very, very, very nice family, where the fact that my mom was a stay-home mom. She was a wonderful, wonderful mother. And my dad built this huge, my dad did not like the control of working at Western Electric. So my dad had a vision. My dad had a vision in the early 60s that the whole United States, the whole world was going to go plastic. And if you guys remember everything in the grocery store that we used to have, like the peanut butter, the mayonnaise, everything was glass, everything was metal. So my dad's vision was plastics. That's going to be the wave of the future. So my dad had ironically, my dad had some people back him. His backers were in Philadelphia, and I had no idea I was going to be eventually living in the Philadelphia area, but he had some people back him and said, I have this idea. I want to start a molding injection company. So my dad bought 3 Van Dorn molding injection machines, 3 machines, and my dad built 2 huge plants, one in Shreveport, one in Kilgore, Texas, and they ran 24 hours, nonstop, 3 shifts. My dad designed the Jiffy peanut butter lid. My dad designed the mayonnaise lid. My dad designed a lot of things. So that's the kind of family I was born into. A lot of structure. Dinners were set at a certain time. I had to clear the table We had to do dishes, chore list. I had to work. I had to work. My dad said, there's no little girl of mine that's not gonna work. She will work. So at age 7, my dad basically put me to work in his plant. I started sweeping around. I don't know if my dad necessarily, if it was a babysitter for my mom, but he just kind of like, you're gonna learn. So it kind of started around sweeping, and then I started making boxes and taping them up, and then my dad put me in quality control. I kind of started looking at parts, gauging parts, fold your coffee lids and checking for oil and grease, just kind of flip-flopping around, checking things. But my dad was very, very strict, is what I'm getting at. And so like in our preamble, alcohol doesn't discriminate. So what I'm saying is I had everything at my fingertips, the finest schools. Going to school, I went to school in Italy, and my dad was very controlling. Very, very, like, you're gonna make certain grades. You're gonna work here, you're gonna pay me, you're gonna work and pay for your clothes. If you want nice clothes, you're gonna buy them. That's what I did. If you want cars, you're gonna give me a cash. My first car was a Chevrolet Impala. Pretty cool car back then. Pale yellow. Pretty cool. I know I'm aging myself, I'm dating myself, but it was pretty cool due to the fact my dad put an 8-track
8-track?
Now I'm really aging myself. But what I loved about that car, I could fit. I mean, the personality you guys see in me today, I've always had that personality. I've always been just a lot of friends. Friends are my life. Girlfriends, sleepovers, cheerleading, gymnastics. But what I loved about that car is I could fill my car up with all the girls. And of course we didn't wear seat belts. What seat belts back then? We're in the, we're laying on top of the dashboard, But the thing about it is, we could listen to our music. Foreigner 4 and Journey. And we could get our Tickle Pink, we could get our booze. In the Deep South, you had your fake ID, you could get it, anywhere in Louisiana. And so we would drive through Kmart parking lot, and that's where my first Kmart parking lot, drinking our booze, bouncing. You could see the yellow Impala going through Kmart parking lot, and that yellow Impala is just bouncing because all of the girls are just dancing. So my first drink was in high school, Like I said, I just really, born into a really, really nice family. My first drink was in high school, but like they say, and now that I'm a part of Alcoholics Anonymous and I know what alcoholism is, once I put that liquor in my body, I really didn't know how to turn it off. 1 was not enough, 2 was not enough. And my first drunk, I drunk on Tickle Pink and drank the whole bottle. Didn't get in trouble because I went over to my my best friend's house, and they kind of got me together and put me into bed. But my dad, I have to say, and this is a big part of my story, my dad was an alcoholic. But I never really saw my dad. My dad was a functioning alcoholic. Of course he was, because my dad was a brilliant man to do what he's done, right? My dad was a functioning alcoholic. I always remember my dad drinking Budweiser and drinking a lot of Bud, or Scotch on the water when he got home from work. And I remember my dad as a kid, my dad would drink a lot of Budweisers and just, I can remember the Budweiser caps tapping on the granite, cling, cling, and my dad would line them up perfectly. Because if you know an engineer, my dad had a certain signature, and my dad was very organized. So his beer bottles, I remember as a child seeing all of his beer bottles just lined up perfectly in the kitchen, just perfect lined up. So my dad, he was a great provider, and he taught me a lot. Everything I know and everything about me, because I love my daddy. My daddy taught me how to throw a football. My daddy taught me how to drive a car. My daddy taught me how to parallel park. My dad was my best friend. And so my nickname growing up was Razzmatazz, because my dad said my nickname growing up was Raz and Razzmatazz, because my little Raz, she's always just razzed up. I can never keep her calm. So, like I said, I really had no issues with alcohol, in high school, because I was just so busy with school and the clubs and Spanish club and my friends and academics, and just life's good. Alcohol did not get in the way. Although I drank, I loved to party, but it didn't get in the way. So I went off to college. I looked at 2 schools. I looked at not Penn State, that's up here, LSU, Louisiana State University, and I looked at Louisiana Tech. And LSU was just a really big party school. It's like the Penn State up here. So I decided to go to Louisiana Tech, because a little bit, structured, a little small, and that fit my personality. So yeah, I had the freedom of being away, and that's when my drinking exploded. And I got into some trouble. I really did. But once again, I had that daddy get me out of things. When I did get my first DUI, Ruston is a dry county. Ruston is a dry county, but you always find a place to find the booze. We drive over to Grambling, I don't know if y'all know, it's a Louisiana school, but we could get our booze there, and I would find our booze. So I did get a DUI at Louisiana Tech, and I remember them pulling me over. I ran a red light, and I was intoxicated, and I called my dad in Shreveport, and Dad's like, "Raz, what in the heck are you doing?" "Dad, I'm sorry. Dad, please, just help me out, Dad." So I had Dad helping me. Dad knew people, right? Dad knew the district attorney. Dad's just like, "You're gonna go see Fred Sutherland, and I don't want any part of this, but you just go see Fred Sutherland, that's the family attorney, and I don't want to hear anything else about this." Dad put his blinders up. And then another big issue, I remember going to a sorority party and drinking too much. I remember being picked up and dropped on my head.
Is that what happened?
And it hurt like you know what. Went home, woke up just sicker than a dog, just couldn't keep anything down, and I knew I needed to get myself to the hospital because I was entirely dehydrated. So I remember going to the hospital and them giving me IDs, and of course I was intoxicated. My blood level count was very high. But once again, those insurance papers went through my dad's plant, and he just wrote, nothing was said. I didn't get in trouble, just kind of slid under the rug. So that went on, just partying, carrying on, and it got close to graduation, and my grades really weren't what they needed to be. And my dad said, "I need you to come on home. I need you to come on home. We're going to have a talk, Raz." Hey, what am I doing? I vividly remember I was sitting on my dad's deck on Cross Lake, and it was a beautiful summer humid night, and he's probably boiling some crawfish, drinking beer. We were probably, and he had my transcripts. "Raz, you're not on the 5-year plan. You got to get this A, this B, this C in order to graduate at this time. And if you don't, I'm cutting you off. The allowances, I'm not paying your tuition. The allowance is stopping. You want to come home? You want to work at McDonald's the rest of your life? Because that's what you're going to end up if you don't get your act together." Okay. I got my act together, graduated. And I met somebody very, very, very nice in college. I met my best friend, and we got married. And so, what do they say? Girls marry their fathers. So that's what I did. I married a very controlling, successful man, and we started to build a nice life together in Louisiana. He worked for Bristol Myers Squibb. We had our first daughter. My daughter's now 27. But the thing about it is, I was controlling the booze because I had such a purpose in life. Being a mother, being a wife, being a stay-home mother. I just loved it. I loved it. So my husband was on a fast track with Bristol Myers Squibb. His career just took off. So he got a promotion, and we moved to Dallas, Texas. And there I had James Nelson in 1996. And of course, I partied, I drank, but I lived in a very protected world. I'd drive to Kilgore, Texas, where my dad had a 110-acre horse farm. I was protected by my dad and everybody in his world. And then I was protected in my husband's world. Stay-home mom, taking care of my children, taking care of the house, Mother's Day out for the kids. I would have my bunco games, and I would really drink too much. But once again, I wasn't getting in the car. I was blacking out, but all I would have to do is my husband would just kind of pick me up and throw me upstairs in the bed. That's it for you, you're done. So that went on for a while. And like I said, Rob was on the fast track with Bristol Myers Squibb. And so he got the promotion to come up to here. Bristol Myers Squibb is based out of Princeton, New Jersey. And so we moved to Newtown, Pennsylvania, where we built our home. And my kids went through the Council Rock School District. And once again, Dad was in Texas. Dad was protecting me. My husband was protecting me. There wouldn't be anything where my dad would call me up. Raz, what are you doing? Dad, I'm raising 2 kids. Well, I think we need to go to Aspen, or I think we need to go to our Bahama house. Oh, okay. So Dad would crank up his Learjet. He'd come into Mercer County. Come on, Raz, get those bambinas. Okay. They say, I will never forget those days. The Cristal and the Dom Perignon, we're up above God's country, and we're boozing it, my dad and I, and my husband. We're just boozing it up. Those are good old days, guys. Whoa, bringing back some memories. So, this is where a lot of things start turning for me. My dad met somebody. My dad, and my mom and dad were divorced. My dad met somebody who, it's very hard for me. Met somebody, and she really fed my dad's ego. She's about my age. And she turned my dad against all the grandkids and all my siblings. There's 4 girls. And in 2001, 2002, I got a certified letter from my dad disowning me. In that letter, it said, I'm disowning you, and I hope to God your children make you happier than you've made me. And he wrote me off. And I tried calling my dad so many times because I developed breast cancer in 2009, and he wouldn't take my phone calls. I'd write him letters, and just to tell him how good Lauren was doing, how good James was doing. My kids were straight A students at Council Rock North, top of their class. My kids got a full academic ride at Tulane. I just wanted to tell my dad how good of a mother I was. And so, of course, my drinking started picking up. Started drinking wine. I never really I've always was a good hands-on mother. Like my kids' academics, I got my kids to all the soccer games, all the baseball. I just lived in my little cocoon, my little sheltered life in Newtown. But I did everything I could do I don't do anything 95%. I'm going to do everything 110%. That's just how I am. I want to be the best I can be, but I do know I am a true alcoholic so my dad wrote me off, and my husband came home from work in around 2007, and he told me he had a terrible headache. So my husband had a mental breakdown. And he got prescribed on some really bizarre drugs. I think, I'm not a doctor, but I think my husband was medically misdiagnosed because the medicine he was put on, he went crazy. He lost his brain. And what I mean by that was, and here I am so prideful. Want to be the best, and I don't want to tell anybody my inner world. My inner world's just crashing down on me. I lost my dad. My husband's sick. He's losing his brain. I remember a couple times waking up and the shutters in our home were all blacked out with black tape and black papers, and he thought the FBI was after him. I remember waking up and my furniture was out on the deck and out in the backyard. I remember waking up one time and my husband was in a cocoon down in the basement. He thought, and there was just a wad of cash beside him. And so in 2008, I 302'd my husband. And what that means is when you can, actually I drove up here to Doylestown Hospital and they said, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "There's something really wrong with my husband." And they said, "Miss McMullen, you need to sit down and talk to us." And I said, "I will." They said, "Can you write a paper? Can you write a paper on what's transpiring and what's going on?" And I said, "Yes, I can." And so I wrote down on a piece of paper what was going on with my husband, and they said, "Miss McMullen, you're in a lot of, you could be hurt. Are your kids okay? Where are your children?" I said, they're in school." "Well, what we're gonna do, where is your husband right now?" I said, "He's underneath our deck, asleep." And we lived in a cul-de-sac in Newtown, and he said, do you want to tell your neighbors what's going on?" I said, "Absolutely. I do not want to scare anybody. I don't want to scare the children if the children are playing." So I called my girlfriends and I let them know that the cops in the ER, the paramedics were coming down. And I didn't know if he was going to have a gun. I didn't know if he was going to resist. So I did not go. I stayed away just because I just couldn't bear the fact. I didn't know what he was going to do. So they took my husband away, and that's when I really didn't know what to do with my life. I knew I needed to do something real quick. I didn't have a daddy to call to pick me up on a Learjet and get me home. I didn't have any family up here. And that's when the booze really picked up. I called my mom. She came in from Arizona. And she said, "Your husband's not going to come home." I said, "Okay." She said, "You are in my best interest in my grandkids." I said, "Okay." So Rob went on to Louisiana. It was about 2008, 9-ish. And then they say breast cancer doesn't hurt. Oh, yeah, it does. I kind of neglected my body and I didn't get a mammogram. And I truly believe the stress, because I did the BRCA gene testing, and I truly believe it was brought on due to the alcohol and stress. I went in to get a mammogram and I had stage 3 breast cancer. And, whoa. Okay. Rob's down in Louisiana. I'm faced with this huge house. I don't know what to do. I don't know where my mortgage is. I don't know how to pay a bill. I don't know how to pay a Verizon bill. What am I going to do? All I could do was drink to numb the pain I was in. I was in extreme amount of pain. So much where I'm just like, I was so feared up, y'all. Like, I cannot do this alone. What am I going to do? I did have a, college degree, but I have not worked in a while. What am I going to do with myself? So, I prayed to God. And I said, God, what am I going to do? I need to do something real quick. My mom came in. We put a short-term, our house didn't go into bankruptcy, but I got the bare bones for a $700,000 home. Wasn't much, but it got me into a townhouse. So packed my house up. My daughter's class, basically, I went to Acme every single day to grab boxes, and I started packing the house up, getting it together. Council Rock North basically packed up my house for us. That's where my children went to school, and we got into a townhouse. But I'm doing what I have to do. I'm just going on pure adrenaline. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it for my kids. I'm going to get them into the townhouse. I'm going to let them finish Council Rock North, and then I will make a decision based on what's right for my kids, what I need to do. And my plan was I was going to move back down south to be with family. So the trauma I had been in, I got into my going through chemo, going through radiation, lost my hair. I didn't really care, I just put on a baseball cap on, just do what I had to do. Got into my townhouse, and that's what really the alcoholism set in. Because Rob was down in Louisiana, I was in my townhouse, I knew my kids were gonna be okay. They had their home. All my kids wanted was security. All my children wanted was, Mama, are we gonna have a house? Are we gonna have our 2 labs? Mom, can I bring my saltwater fish to the townhouse? Oh, James, it's a 90-gallon tank, man. But yeah. I remember putting the fish in the Home Depot buckets. What we do, right? We got to do what we got to do. I'm like, my son's in the back seat holding the Home Depot buckets with the fish, and I'm driving up at the townhouse, not really, the parking's terrible where I moved. Okay, hello, neighbor. Pew! I wasn't drinking, I wasn't drunk, but I hit my neighbor's car. Oops. Oops. But God put me where I needed to be, because my neighbor, Harry, is like in his 80s. He's got about 15 years. He is in the rooms down in Newtown. So everything the townhouse got set up, and the kids are, trying to normalize their life, and not me. I was just, what am I gonna do? My drinking, I told myself I would never drink every day. I would never morning drink. I would never hide the booze. I was hiding the booze. I was hiding the booze because I was shaking. I did have a job. I was working for a medical company, not the one that I'm working for now. Not really I was showing up doing just a minimal job because I really was watching the clock because all I wanted was the booze. I mean, I was not even focused on my job because I was just, I got to get the next drink. I got caught drinking on the job. So that's really where this journey began. And the children and I did lose my husband. He did commit suicide in 2014. So the most important men in my life are gone. The two most, and then I have my son, but my father figures, my best friends are gone. So just myself and my kids, and I'm working, but hanging on by just hanging on. And I got caught drinking on the job, and I got put on a 90-day probation. They said if you don't go to rehab, basically you're gonna lose your job, and they handed the papers to me. My next door neighbor was a big part of my recovery. He knew I was an alcoholic. He always saw a wine glass and Chardonnay in my hand, and I didn't know he was in AA, but he tried to hand me some papers numerous times. I think you need to read these, the papers we have. And I'm just like, Harry, boom. I don't want to talk to you, Harry. But Harry said, one day you're going to need me. And if you ever do need me, you need to write I can get you to what we call it a meeting. And just write your name and your phone number and put it on my windshield and clip it, and I'll come knock on your door and I'll get you somewhere where I can get you help. So I went off to rehab. It was the best thing I could have done. This is where my journey really begins, my healing. I went into a rehab down on the Panhandle where I could be near my two children and some sisters down in the South. I went to a Christian-based rehab where the Lord was talked about and where I could regain my strength and my spirit in God. And they introduced the 12 steps and the big book to me. And I was so compliant. I wanted to get well. I was so sick. And I didn't want to be the person I was. I just didn't. I didn't want to be that way. I didn't want to be the person that had to drink. I didn't want to be the person that drove drunk. I didn't want to be a disappointment to my kids anymore. I really didn't. So I did 30 plus days in rehab and came home, and I put my number on Harry's windshield, and Harry knocked on my door. And my very first meeting was down in Newtown 6 years ago. And that's where I met the ladies where I'm very close to today, and that's my sponsor and my grand sponsor and my tribe. And I love my ladies, and the fellowship is everything to me. And this is what worked for me. And I'm not going to say this is the AA bylaws and the Bible, but this has just worked for me. If you guys are new, I highly suggest a sponsor. I highly suggest you just dive into the work, because I know I don't want to get scared. I mean, I want to do it. I'm all in, I'm all out. That's how I roll. I'm all in, I'm all out, and I'm going to be all in. And I'm going to listen. I worked the 12 steps. I learned a lot about myself. I had to let go of the pride, let go of the self-pity and the pride and the fear, and really learn my roots again. Who cared? My dad's name is James, and I'm Kara James McMullen. I really had to learn who Kara James was again. And I can do this world thing. I don't have to drink. I can get well. And so that's what I did. I dove into the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I dove into the big book. And this is a solution. Everything is that it's just a wonderful program. And I love this program. And I wouldn't do anything different. I love the fellowship up here. I've been up here about a year now, and I love the fellowship, and I love my ladies, and I love you guys, and my children are wonderful. I said my amends to my children. I really didn't have a lot of amends because I was a big isolator drinker. I didn't really have a lot of friends. That really might sound bizarre because I'm such an outgoing person. I just stayed home and I drank and I called in. I just was I was a screw up. And I have a lot of, bruises and bumps and scars where I've fallen around, and I tried to run the Broad Street a couple times drunk, and that didn't work out. And a lot of you guys know that I am a runner, and I love to exercise. That didn't work out. But today's just a wonderful life, and anybody that's new, please stay. You beginners, stay. I wouldn't give this world up for anything. I live up in Doylestown. I met someone very nice. He's a very nice guy. He understands me, and he knows that I need meetings, and he knows that I need to do service. And that's another thing, is that we have to give back in order to stay sober. And this program truly works. So that's all I have, and I hope I deliver, and I hope I said something that really meant and really will resonate with someone tonight. Thank you very much.